The book that I did for my independent reading project was Flush by Carl Hyson. The story starts out when Noah Pullman's father gets sent to prison because he sunk the ship, the Coral Queen. The Coral Queen is a gambling boat that never leaves the docks. It loads up to about 11,000 people each night and always has a surprise for the gamblers. Whether it's drinking, gambling, or just hanging out by the porch, you always have a good time there. Well, except for Mr. Pullman. He thinks that they're doing a natural disaster. He has proof and has seen them dumping their waste into the water. Not just garbage, human waste. It's very disgusting, and it has been polluting every single beach in the Florida Keys. Thunder Beach is getting the worst of it. There's about 1.2 million gallons of sewage in that beach. Every so often, Noah Pullman, the son, would go over to the jailhouse and visit his father in prison. His father would always have something in store for him, like, "This sucks," or "Get me out of here, Noah." And he'd always say, "Why don't you call the lawyer?" And then he'd say, "No, I know you can bail me out." And then Noah would always mutter to himself, "I'm not a lawyer," as he'd walk out. Mom, on the other hand, has been getting sick of him just staying there in prison, so she was starting to get ready for a divorce. She packed up a big brown bag with all of her equipment and stuff in it, and clothing, and she had it all out by the car. And then Mr. Pullman made the swift decision to get out of prison. When he finally came home, Mrs. Pullman was so happy to see him. She kissed him all over and said, "You'll never leave this house ever again." Well, she wasn't kidding about that. He was put on house arrest for 2 months. During his house arrest, at midnight, they decided to take his thing off of his leg, the house sensor, and they decided to go out on a date and have a good time. While they were out, Noah and Abby Pullman, the sister, snuck out, and they went down to their friend Shelley's house. Shelley is a middle-aged woman. She's about 45 to 50 years old. She helped them get onto the Coral Queen. She loaded them into a beer barrel, and rolled them over to the Coral Queen. When the crew grabbed them and put them on the dock, Shelley came and said, "These are for me, boys," and then told them to go back to their work around the dock, sweeping the dock as she said that they did. And then she unloaded him out of the box and gave him a nice bottle of water. And then she put him back in the beer bottle and rolled him over to the women's bathroom. From there, she gave him 17 packets of food coloring. Why food coloring, you ask? Well, it was bright purple food coloring, and it would be easy to see in the water, the clear ocean water. So Noah had to make do with squirting 17 gel packs of food coloring into each toilet and flushing it all down. That's why I think it's called Flush by Carl Hyson. When in the middle of his operation, this woman started banging on the door and saying, "Let me in, short stuff, I need to pee, and fast." And he said, "I'm almost ready, ma'am. I'm almost ready to come out. Can't you just hold it?" And then she said, "No, I need to go in now." And she was actually starting to bang down the door. When the lock finally came loose, she burst it open and she said, "You're not even a woman." Noah sprinted out of the bathroom, and he would have gotten away safely if the woman hadn't yelled, "Catch that little pervert! Catch him! Quickly!" So Noah was on a wild goose chase when he finally got cornered by the crew, or as Shelley calls them, the Snatchers. The Snatchers cornered him at the bar of the dock. He was about at the bar of the boat. He was about to jump over, but what he did is, "If I die, my parents will sue you." And then the crew started laughing. And then he said, they'll sue you about, I don't know, $10 million. And then their smirks came off. So they ran over to grab him, but it was too late. He had already cannonballed overboard and landed in the ocean. As he went down, he yelled, "Cowabunga!" and landed swiftly into the yucky, disgusting, polluted ocean. His sister Abby was in a little motorboat and came fast to pick him up out of the water. He started spitting out dirty water from the ocean. And then they were halfway back to the dock when suddenly the gas tank ran out. So they were stranded floating away from sea. Probably the exact opposite way they needed to go. They were there for about 2 days. They were floating, stranded in the water all night, and they woke up the next day to the sound of another boat roaring in their ears. It was right next to them, and have I mentioned that their dad got a job as a Coast Guard person? So he ran over and found them, and then he said, "Look who I brought with me." And at first they didn't know who he was, and then they're like, "Who's that, Dad?" And then the man sadly looked over toward their dad, and then their father said, "Children, meet your great-grandfather.